I'm now going to introduce Verna McGregor, who's from the Algonquin community of Kitigan-Zibi Anishinaabeg, which is approximately 120 kilometers north of Ottawa. Verna works at the Minwashin Lodge, the Aboriginal Women's Support Centre, located here in Ottawa, which provides services and resources by the lodge to assist in the empowerment of Aboriginal women leaving violence. She's remained firmly grounded in her community and nation by being part of the group of traditional grandmothers and elders, and this includes the importance of the promotion and retention of the Aboriginal language and culture, which is so important when addressing these issues.
Good. Kwekakina for non-Indigenous cause. Hello, my name is Verna McGregor, and as my MC introduced me, I'm part of the traditional grandmothers back home. I was an unofficial grandmother until 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, I became official. And for those of you who don't know, too, once you become a cookum, watch out. Yeah. No. Just a really little quick background, though, why I mentioned the grandmothers, too, as well, is that in 1999, one of the grandmothers had, you could say, a vision that we started doing the water ceremony within our community. And part of that message that she received is that we need to pray for the water, especially women. We need to pray for the water. Our understanding is that women are keepers of the water, men are keepers of the fire, both very sacred. And why are women keepers of the water is because we bring in the next generation, and we're conceived in water. So that's why it's important for us to pray for the water. And what they said that as we move along, it's going to get worse in terms of also if we don't raise awareness of the importance of the water. And part of the ceremony, too, as well, is that we drink the water. And when we drink the water, it's also a reminder that our bodies are, 72.8% water? So if we drink contaminated water, what are we doing to our bodies? When they had the map up here, too, as well, for us, our history, the rivers were very important to us. I usually bring my little chimon, my little birch bark canoe, because we were known for the birch bark canoe. We still are. But the rivers were our highways, really. I always say they're carbon-free traveling compared to today. We might have to go back compared to if we're looking for alternatives for this fossil fuels. So, but as you know, as history, that got eroded with also, just really quickly, we had the newcomers coming in, so then it started with the fur trade, and then came the lumber. They used the rivers to transport the lumber, so we got displaced. Then all of a sudden we needed energy, so then it was the building of the dams on the rivers. Again, that was displaced because, again, recently the Chaudière Falls. Anybody familiar with the Chaudière Falls? Raise your hands. Yeah. Oh, everybody raise your hands. Okay, good. Yeah, Chaudière's in Ottawa. No. So what happens, but our understanding, though, too, with the rivers is that even with the dams, it's a blockage. It's like your body. We see Mother Earth as a living entity, and it's a blockage in your body. And again, too, if you have a blocked vein, that causes turmoil. And an example here with the building of the dam, one fallout then is they didn't have the research then but they saw the disappearance of the American eel in the species. So again, we need to become, we are, like I'm speaking to the converted in here, I think, but also to the more awareness of what are we doing to the water in terms of also, and it's our convenience. One of our elders, I always like saying, his favorite saying is that war, disease, and toxic waste is our great myth of progress. And I think I'm glad that you're here today too, because I think we need a great awakening. And if you talk to, for example, I sat a lot with Claudette's grandfather, William Commanda, and actually he's my relation. And part of that, he was also the keeper of one of the wampum belts. And one of the prophecies of the wampum belts is that the people will have to come together regardless of the color of your skin, your race, because the understanding is that the earth will be in trouble. And I think here we are today. So on that note, now I'm just going to talk really quickly. I don't know how I'm doing on time, but about 7 years ago, 8 years ago now, I went to visit Claudette's grandfather, and he was in a wheelchair then. And he says, so my son, we were dropping off his daughter. So he goes, and I was with my son, he goes, you and Sheldon going to come with me? I said, where are you going? He goes, I'm going to protest. And I said, where are you going to protest? He goes, Sharbet Lake. And he goes, because they want to build a uranium mine up there. And he says, and the understanding with that too as well, because we have issues with uranium in our community where we're all on bottled water. So I said, yep, I'm going to come protest with you. So we went up to Sharbet Lake, and I said it was time for us to make new friends. And so we went up there. And again, too, I got the whole story too in terms of now why we say to welcome to Algonquin unceded land. And just a little story here, the landowners one day came home and their property was staked out. They had come to Ottawa here and they came back and their property was staked out. So they said, well, who staked out our property? So they said, well, we went to the municipal office and they said, well, it's been staked out for a mine. And they said, well, we own the land. And they said, well, you don't have the subsurface rights. So then he said, well, how do we get our subsurface rights? He goes, well, you're going to have to go to the province. Because the province is responsible for the Mining Act. So they went to the province and they said, well, it's an environmental issue. Go see the federals. And then the feds say, well, go back to your municipality. So they weren't sure what their recourse was. And then one of their recourses was also to, as well, the property was unceded Algonquin territory. So that's why they created the protest site based on unceded Algonquin land. It was almost like a fallback when the provincial, the municipal, and the federal government, there's like you fall through the cracks. Because why I was thinking of this, though, too, as well, is that because we had issues with uranium in our community, this would have been an open pit mine. And the tailings, it would have impacted, for example, the Mississippi River, which goes into the Ottawa River. And I said, so what happens? Who's going to pay for all the bottled water when you have contamination? So it got pretty heated. There was some people who were thrown in jail. There was Professor Lovelace from Queen's University. And so to make a story short, what happened is they were finally released after 6 months. And then at that time it was Dalton McGuinty, so they made a commitment to review the Mining Act. So why I'm telling you this story too as well is sometimes it's pretty scary to make a stand, but sometimes it's needed. Because our understanding too in what William Bishomas always said is we're here for the next 7 generations, meaning the decisions we make today will impact the 7 generations. And we're only here for a short time. We think we're here like 67, 80 years, but that's a short time in this whole continuum. And you're looking at 7 generations is not a long time. So what are we doing? And I think it's awakening every day to become more aware of our actions. And it's coupled with all the research in are advocates here. So I say, on that note, I say, miigwech. Thank you.